Sally here from Your Past is a Gift. How are you this morning? So today I have a really important message for you. The last few days, as I go over the videos and I listen to what's already been recorded, I've had a few light bulb moments about my life. And I wanted to share those with you in case this might, have a light bulb moment in your head and it might be able to turn everything around for you today. So one of the things that I was thinking of that came to light was the fact that I had a really happy childhood. Now I know I talk about, with my mum I felt cast aside and all these things that happened when my sister was born, and I was only 5 years old at the time. But I was fortunate enough in my life to have my cousins. And even though at the time I was the youngest of my cousins, we were all going through exactly the same thing. And so what happened was, my cousins are my cousins because our dads are all brothers, right? And so my parents were the first ones to migrate to Australia. And so the two of them had to work really hard to make ends meet in the beginning when they first arrived here in Australia, my parents. But then the same happened for all of my cousins. Their parents arrived here in Australia and they were all immigrants. Okay, they'd never been here before. None of them knew the language, so they were also learning the language along with getting used to a completely different culture and completely different traditions but the good thing was it was hard for my parents because they were the first ones here. But only a few short years later, the first of my cousins arrived. I think I was 3 at the time when she arrived. So up until that point, I had all of my parents' attention. And then she came, my cousin came, and we had each other. So no matter what was going on at home with our parents, we had each other and we were all going through exactly the same. She was firstborn, I was firstborn, and she was also going to have a sibling, a sister, the same year that I had my sister. They were both born in the same year. And so we were definitely both in the same boat. We were definitely both, having exactly the same experiences in our lives. And so for me, school was difficult because I found it going through primary school, my first 7 years from kindergarten to grade 6, I found it really difficult to connect to children at school. I just couldn't find someone that I had anything in common with that I could form a friendship, and I look forward to school to see this little being every day and connect with them. I didn't have that. So at school, I was quite happy because in my mind, I went to school to learn, and I loved learning. I loved reading and knowing about new things that I didn't know about. So for me, school was a magical place, where I could expand my mind, and learn all the things I couldn't learn at home that my parents didn't know, like where do clouds come from? Where does the rain come from? All the things, that happen in the world that at school, of course, the teachers know all these things, that's what they're trained for, to have all these answers for you. Because in my day when we had school, we didn't have the internet. I couldn't just look things up on my own, and discover the world for myself. I relied on school and I relied on the teachers to give me this knowledge, So I was fortunate enough that I loved learning and knowing about things. And so for me, school was a magical place, even though I couldn't connect and have friends at school. But I had weekends, and my parents, they were brilliant because they made sure that every weekend we caught up with our cousins and they caught up, with their brothers, with their family. The family was the most important thing to them. And so every weekend I had my cousins. I had that to look forward to. But today, what I urge you to look at in your life, because I've talked to adults that have told me they had a miserable childhood. They were so unhappy, and I think the difference between what I experienced and what they had was that I had that connection. with my cousins. You know, looking back now, that's what made my childhood so happy, that I looked forward to every weekend that we would play and we would be goofy and we would do silly things and just be kids. You know, there was no judgment of anything because we were all the same. You know, there might have been a year or two difference between each of us, but we loved each other because we were all going through exactly the same. We had so much in common, the same pain, the same, you know, exactly the same experience of what our parents were going through here in Australia. You know, so we'd go home and we were all going through the same experience at home with our parents. You know, they're struggling and they're frustrated and they're learning a language that's so different to theirs. And, you know, this is, for our parents, was very difficult, you know, starting out here in Australia. But we had each other. And so today, what I want you to start looking at is, can you find others? You know, you need to find others that you have so much in common with, no matter how different you are, because this is what I struggled with at school. I couldn't make friends at school because I was so different to all the other kids. And so I felt like I just didn't fit into any, you know, any little group. I'd try and connect with this group or I'd try and connect with that group, and then I just didn't feel I fit anywhere. But, you know, connecting to others doesn't need to be at school. It can be anywhere. And now, you know, with the internet, there's so many places that you can find others just like you. So I don't want to go too long with the videos. You know, I want each one to be short and have that message that gets you thinking today, you know, of how you can connect with others, because this is what brings us joy. It's when we're disconnected that we feel all alone, that we feel like we're the only ones going through this, that we go into depression and we feel sad and we're afraid of the world. But no one, I promise you, there's not one soul out there in the world that is the only one going through their experience. There are hundreds of people out there going through the same as you. No matter what your experience is, I promise you there are many, many, many others going through the same. And only you can connect with them on that level because you're going through the same. So I want you to really think about that today and open your mind to finding friends, you know, in the most unlikely of places. Because I look back on it now and I think my cousins were the most unlikely, you know, of places that I would have looked for love and friendship and connection, you know, and feeling that I was important because they were so important to me. We all felt the same about each other, you know, and we all protected each other with our love. So I'd really like that for you, you know, that you can find others just like you, that you can connect and not feel that you're alone anymore. Okay? All right, well, thanks for watching. Remember to click like and subscribe below so you don't miss any of the videos, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye for now.